Right now in the DevHeads community, we're preparing for PCB manufacture. I'm here with Petr Dvořák, who is one of DevHeads' resident hardware experts. Hey, Petr, so why do developers tend to get in trouble when they're getting ready to go to manufacture with their PCBs?
Hello, Brendan. Yeah, that's a great question. In my opinion, the reason is that those PCB engineers didn't look for the limitations given by the PCB manufacturers. The issue is that our CAD systems like Altium Designer, KiCad, or all of them allow us to design something below limits of the PCB manufacturer. It means we can design smaller hole than the PCB manufacturer can drill, and then we will be charged with extra money, or simply said, your PCB is not manufacturable and you need to redesign it.
So, Petr, you've been through numerous wars and trenches designing PCBs. Do you have any tips or tricks or best practices that you recommend to PCB designers before they get started?
Yeah, I have. I extracted 4 to 5 parameters that help PCB engineers to design their PCBs, after that they will be manufacturable and for a reasonable price.
Great. Let's take a look.
Yep. So this is the title page. The first so-called port constraint or the PCB manufacturer limitation is minimum through hole, as I advised before. The minimal size of the drill of the hole that can be drilled into the PCB. Simply said, smaller holes means more money, but there are some limits. Let's say 0.25 millimeters is the reasonable limits for average PCB. So look for minimum through hole. The next one is minimum annular ring. It means for the case of pads, for THT components or vias, the size of the annular ring of the via. It should be, as I said, bigger than some minimum, because the minimum, the size less than minimum avoids manufacturability of the PCB. It's a chemical process, and when the annular ring is too narrow, it will go away during the process. So there must be some limits, some minimum. Another thing, minimum track width. The similar thing as the annular ring. The minimal track width means that the board is manufacturable. Too narrow tracks means that the PCB cannot be produced, and the tracks will disappear during the chemical process, during the etching. So let's look for minimum track width. The neighboring value, as you can see, the picture is the same, is the minimal spacing between tracks. PCB manufacturers shows us or documents or advise many numbers, but I think the most important is track-to-track clearance, because once you are aware of that minimum distance, you will be okay for the entire board, even with the distance between pads and tracks, even with the distance between THT holes and tracks and anything. The minimum clearance is everything you need. So I have a
golden sample.
Golden sample. Yeah. Now I am on the website of the famous PCB manufacturer called GLC PCB. On their website, there is a section called Capabilities. Once you click the link, you will be moved to the quite long table with all the parameters, as I mentioned, and many more. But I recommend focus on those 4 or 5. Once if you don't use the GLC PCB, you can go, for example, to IceLearnNet, which is a European PCB manufacturer, and as well on their website there is a link, technical capabilities, which leads you to the tables with all the types of PCBs. Once you click design rule rating, you will be forwarded to a very legible page with the drawing with all the parameters, with table with all numbers, but don't be overwhelmed with the number of numbers. Yeah, follow my 5 or 4 parameters, and you'll be fine.
Well, that's great. Some good tips and best practices to live by. Petr, if people are designing more advanced high-performance boards, does any of this change? Are there any additional considerations they need to take into account?
Basically, the parameters are the same, but with different numbers for inner layers. There are differences in limitations and parameters for inner layers and outer layers. So my recommendation is to follow those 4 or 5 rules and look for the numbers for the inner layers, and the PCB layout engineers will be happy.
Well, that's a lot of good information there. Petr, if people were looking for more information or help on designing and their PCBs for manufacture, where should they go?
I highly recommend visiting our Discord DevHeads server, where I am under the .Petr Dvořák nickname or call name, and we will help you with your answers and with your designs, and feel free to ask anything, and we will help you.
Great. He's Petr Dvořák. I'm at TechieLou, and you can find this and a whole lot of other great technical information in the DevHeads Discord server, which is linked to on the screen and in the description below. We'll see you in the server.